Hey guys, what is up? It is Bibzuda7 here again, and welcome to another RuneScape 3 vlog here today. In this video, I'm going to be going over the RuneScape 3 reveals from Runefest. The keynote ended recently, but I also listened to the entire Q&A after the keynote, where a couple more important details were revealed for certain updates. In the video, I'm just going to be doing some Herblore stuff here on my hardcore, as you know, it's just mainly about the discussion as opposed to anything on the video. But yeah, let's get into things here for the RuneScape 3 keynote. It kicked off with a pretty funny Indiana Jones style little video movie thing with like Maud Osborne and Maud Shawnee kind of doing a little dungeon raid into some place. It was like pretty much the same thing as like the Indiana Jones bit, and then the boulder came coming down the hallway after them, and they had to try and get away, and Maud Shawnee actually gets crushed in it. I would recommend watching it. It's actually pretty funny and wasn't really like cringe like their videos usually are, so that was good. And also had some shelved update memes in there, which was pretty good. So I liked that little video. So when they put that up on YouTube, which I'm sure they will, I'd recommend you watch that. But yeah, after that, they jumped straight into the reveals, starting off with one of the biggest ones, which is, obviously, we already knew about it, but the archaeology skill. They gave tons of details, and it sounds amazing. So I'm going to go over a lot of these details here, kind of as a summary of what's going to be included in the skill. So it's going to be kind of like a gathering and manufacturing skill. It's kind of like, that's kind of how divination is a little bit. It's gathering of the energies, but you can also create stuff with them. It kind of sounded similar to that. So that was how they kind of addressed it, but they didn't mention divination, but that's just how it sounded to me. We're gonna be trying to assemble, in terms of lore, the puzzle pieces from the past of like the god wars and stuff like that, and we want to put these artifacts that we recover back together to create treasures. And they said that there's going to be 5 new areas for basically the dig sites that we're going to be excavating while we train the skill. There's going to be 3 new genres of rewards to go along with it as well. So for the gathering side of the skill, it's basically excavating, and they showed the concept art for the new tool that is going to be used called mattocks. And mattocks are a tool that I think I've heard of them in some game before, but basically it's going to be the pickaxe of archaeology, and it looked like it had a very similar designs to the mining and smithing reworked pickaxes, and they even have a best version called the Mattock of Space and Time, which is similar to the pickaxe of Earth and Song, I'm sure, from the mining and smithing rework. And basically, you'll take your Mattock and you'll find an excavation hotspot at these dig sites. There's not going to be any competition, similar to the way mining and smithing work. And there's also apparently going to be a similar system to Rockertunities. So I guess it's probably going to be a pretty much like your generic gathering skill, just with its own little quirks and differences. And occasionally, while you're excavating, you'll find damaged artifacts, which will be some type of treasure of the past for that area that you're excavating. And it's up to you to restore them with the materials you get from gathering at the excavation sites. And when you fix the artifacts, that's like the main XP. Like that's the main bit of XP you get, the big chunk. I guess kind of probably like siphoning your invention items. And the Archaeology Guild is actually going to be the dig site in Varrock. And I thought they had mentioned previously that the dig site in Varrock wasn't going to be involved at all, but apparently it is going to be the guild for the skill, but I don't think you'll actually be training it there, based on what they said. And you can take these finished artifacts that you've restored and bring them to certain various collectors. It sounded like they were going to be at the Archaeology Guild, but they might be, you might just have to go to them in the game where they are normally. I'm not sure on that, but you can do 3 things with the artifacts. You can bring them to collectors for some rewards. They didn't give details on what those rewards would be. Or you can give it to a museum for a certain new type of currency that can be exchanged either for more rewards or for something else that they mentioned later. Or you can keep it for yourself and get some sort of benefit from it, although they didn't really mention what those would be, but we'll have to see in the future. And as you go across the various dig sites, you can complete different feats in the skill to unlock more stuff. And also you can do different things at each dig site in order to kind of master it, that you like probably will get some different perks and bonuses from that dig site itself. And that just, it sounds really cool. The whole flow of how the skill will work. You go to the dig sites, you excavate stuff, and then you restore it into artifacts that you can do a couple different things with. And I'm really interested to see what the rewards end up being for giving them to the collectors, because it seems like the museum for the currency or keeping it for yourself would be the two main things that you'd want to do, but I'm not sure on that. As they didn't give a whole lot of details on the rewards. But they then went through 3 of the 5 new area dig sites in detail to kind of give us an idea of where things are gonna be and how they're gonna work. And it sounded like, or at least it looked like on the stream, a lot of this stuff was like done. Like the graphical overviews and fly-throughs they were showing looked like completed stuff. So it's definitely well along in its development. The first one is called Karad Et and Karad Karid. I don't know how you say it. I say Al-Karid. I don't know. It's the same word as that. It's Karid Et. So that's the name of the first dig site, and that's going to be near the duel arena. And this one is apparently going to be themed around Zeros and his armies. This is unlocked at level 5 after you've completed your first qualification. That was something else they mentioned, that as you train the skill, you're going to be able to complete certain qualifications or certifications that will allow you to either dig in more complicated locations or do different things with the skill. Sounds pretty cool. And this place will have religious pieces, scrolls related to ancient magics and stuff like that regarding Zeros. And that is the first area. So that'll be the first one that we train up in when the skill is released. Next up, they mentioned Eastern Mauritania, which is going to be the Icene settlement of Everlight, which sounds like a pretty cool name. And it looked like, I think it was like a lighthouse type thing as far as the design looked. And Venescula is like each dig site, by the way, has like a manager or something, however you want to call it. I'm not sure how you would, like the leader of the dig site location. And this one is Venescula, and her goal is for you to like extinguish the lighthouse that is kind of, causing annoyance to the vampires in the area. And this one unlocks at level 20 and will have various, again, historical, cultural items focused around the Icene and their sort of, their lore and all that. The last one that they gave details on was called the Infernal Source, and this one is going to be underneath the wilderness, apparently, so hopefully it doesn't end up being a PvP area. I don't think it would be based on what they said, but you never know. This one also unlocks at level 20 and will have Zamarakian lore and items related to it. So sounds like some pretty cool locations. They also revealed the name of the other 2 sites, but no other details, and those are called the Stormguard Citadel and the Warforge. So those are probably going to be 2 higher leveled locations that you unlock as you get higher up, obviously. So yeah, that's pretty much all the details of how you're going to be training it. As far as the gathering side goes, you go to those various dig sites, excavate the area, and collect those artifacts that can be used for other things, possibly also related to the manufacturing part of the skill. Next, they went into the rewards, and there was so many things that they listed on these rewards. It sounds crazy, but I'll try and cover it all as best I can. The first one that they mentioned was Ancient Summoning. And apparently deep in the Infernal Source, which is in the one under the wilderness, you will learn how to bind the will of powerful demons to you through summoning. And you'll need charms for this, so it'll just be like new summoning pouches, it sounds like. And there's basically, they gave details on 3 of them, 3 demons. The Ripper Demon, which deals more damage to target. It's a combat familiar, deals more damage to targets based on the target's health. And the Scroll special effect that it will have is to, all they said was replicate the Ripper Demon's death jump attack, which instant kills you if you get hit by it. So I don't know how that's going to work exactly. I doubt it'll be instant killing any of your targets, but we'll have to see the details when it comes out. Next was the Abyssal Demon ancient summoning thing, and this one will teleport to its target in order to deal damage and get closer to it. And the scroll was kind of weird. It'll teleblock and bind your target. So that sounds like a PvP-oriented familiar. So I don't know if people are going to be using that in the wilderness or what, but I don't think you can teleblock any monsters in the game as far as I know, but that one was kind of interesting to hear about. And lastly was the Calgerian Demon, which they claim is going to be the most powerful combat summoning familiar in the game, so possibly outclassing the Steel Titan. We'll have to see though. And the scroll for this one will provide you, the demon itself, and nearby players a buff to your critical hit chance. So that sounds like it'll be a pretty good scroll to use as well. But yeah, that sounds pretty cool. Ancient summoning. I hope there's more than just 3 pouches, but because then it would kind of not really be fleshed out enough for it to justify it being included. But it sounds awesome. This whole skill, like the whole reveal of it made me so excited for this skill to come out. I'm really looking forward to it. And they did reveal the release date, which I will mention once we get to that point. But the next section of the rewards they talked about was there's going to be some new invention devices and perks, because the new archaeology items that are coming into the game, the various artifacts and other things, are going to be able to be disassembled into new materials. So that is definitely going to be pretty sweet to see what new perks are available and the new devices. And there's also going to be ancient gizmos, which will be used for these new perks from the archaeology materials. And the ancient gizmos, if you know normal gizmos, they have 5 slots for materials. These will have 9 slots in the ancient gizmo. So you'll be able to have new combos and various perks that have not yet been discovered. So that's going to be crazy. They mentioned in the Q&A afterwards that it's not necessarily going to be like super easy to get something like biting 3 plus X or something like that. But like it'll widen the range of perk combinations, but not necessarily make certain perks easier to get. It's basically how they made it sound, but we'll have to see the details on that. I hope the invention calculator on the wiki will be equipped to handle it when it comes out, but it seems like it'll be tough to do. But that sounds really cool. They also mentioned a new invention device, which was a little weird. Basically, you can fill it with XP. So if you have it, I guess it'll probably be in your backpack, in your inventory. If you have it with you while you're training, it'll fill up with XP instead of that XP going to whatever you're using. And then you can trade it away to another player who will then gain double item XP while it slowly depletes its charge. So sounds quite weird. It's basically like bonus XP for your invention items that you can buy from other players who have accumulated it for you. But I don't know. It just sounds really weird. It doesn't sound like something that Iron Man would have any use for. But it's definitely an interesting concept, but that was one of the weirder items they mentioned. They also mentioned this other item, which sounds like it's going to be so great for Iron Man, the Kinetic Dynamo, which is basically a pair of boots that will create divine charges for you just by running around or surging. So while you're doing agility, probably like doing Anachronia agility where you run around a lot, throw these boots on and you'll be generating some divine charges for your combat later on. Sounds like it's going to be amazing and, make it less annoying to maintain your charge in general on Iron Man, and just providing a little passive moneymaker for main accounts. So I think that is a really cool new invention device that's going to be coming with this. They also mentioned that the existing invention tools, the fishing rod, the tinderbox, and the hammer, are going to have boosted versions of them that will make them up to level 80 instead of what they are right now, which I think is level 70. So that's pretty cool. I really haven't used those tools too much. The only one I've ever really used is the fishing rod, and I haven't, I've just disassembled it. I don't know if there's like specific perks you can get from them. I don't know. I've never really looked into those. I probably should, but there's going to be a new versions of them. And that's all they revealed for the invention side of things. The final reward space they brought up for this is the Relics, and these were pretty cool. There's a whole list of them. I'll try and post the picture in the description, but I'm not sure. I don't think those are confirmed or anything. They didn't actually list those ones that are in the picture on the keynote, so I'm not sure if those are real or not. But the relics are basically going to be permanent, powerful, constant effects, and you're going to need to use that currency that you can get for exchanging your artifacts that you've dug up in order to either change the effects or add new ones on that, like as you're starting up. So that's why it sounds like changing your artifacts in for currency is going to be important, because you need them to maintain your relics. And there's 20 effects available, but you can only have 3 active at a time. So kind of like Anachronia totems, but on a wider scale and probably with different, more niche effects based on what they said so far. So they gave off 2 effects only. The first one was called Abyssal Link, which allows you to cast teleports without runes, but also you don't get any XP. Sorry, I'm just going to reply to my friend to let him know I'm making the video. But yeah, you'll be able to basically teleport wherever you want, but get no XP for it. And that sounds amazing for stuff like doing treasure trails. You don't need to bring your runes anymore, although that's not a huge deal. And you know, I'm sure it will be just a nice convenience to have. We'll see if it actually has any big difference on that. And the other one was called Slayer Introspection, which allows you, when you get a Slayer task, to choose whether or not you want the minimum amount that you can get or the maximum amount that you can get. And that sounds awesome, just for, you know, anything that you have. Like if you have a bunch of stuff on your prefer list, you're probably going to want as much of them as you can get, and you'll be able to just take that as an option as long as you have this active. So sounds pretty sweet, but as you can tell, that Slayer one, very niche. The Abyssal Link one, pretty generally useful, but you don't really teleport a whole lot unless you're doing something like clues. So you'll definitely need to have enough currency to be able to swap them out and maintain the buffs that you want given the situation you're in. So I'm interested to see how hard it'll be to swap different things out as much as you want. And then one other thing they mentioned was this thing called the Spear of Annihilation, which is apparently going to be a new weapon. I don't know, that was kind of a really quick thing that they flashed up. They didn't really give any details on that at all, so I'm not exactly sure what that entails, but apparently there's going to be some new weapons along with this update as well, so we'll have to see what those actually, you know, end up being, and if they're actually, you know, going to be new tier 92s, or how they're going to work, where they're exactly going to be from. I have no idea, but it sounds pretty nuts. And there's a couple other details for archaeology. It is not an elite skill, which I believe I mentioned in my video earlier. It'll go to 120 on launch, and there will be a 6-month embargo on lamps until 6 months after launch. So that's good. It'll definitely make it so that, you know, people can't just buy their way to 200 mil. And then the cap for free to play is level 20, which is an interesting, it's higher than most members' skills. The skill pet is a little like baby mummy, which looked pretty cute. It's called Archie. Looked good to me based on the little preview they showed of it. The cape is sick. It's it's white with black trim, and it just looks so cool. The 120 cape looks amazing. I'm really gonna want to try and get that because it looks so good. Also, there will be an elite skilling outfit for archaeology that comes out on the launch as well, and it's not going to be in the fragment system for the other elite skill outfits. It's going to be from training the skill itself, and apparently you're going to need to do specific things to get it, and that sounds like it'll just be way better than doing anything else, you know, doing the fragments or any of the other ways that they could do. I think that'll be perfect if it's looped in with the skill. And there's also going to be several new collections associated to archaeology for things like what you've restored, one for each dig site and faction. You have to get all the items. I mean, it's going to be insane. I'm really looking forward to it. You guys know this whole series for my hardcore is getting all the collections one day is the dream. So this will add even more stuff for me to go for on that. And that is archaeology. The release date is January of next year, so much sooner than I thought it would be coming. We're getting it in just like 3 months time, so I'm extremely excited. I hope you guys are too, and as you'll see as we move on here, there is definitely going to be plenty of stuff to keep us busy in the meantime between now and then. So gonna move on now, but archaeology sounds amazing. I'm really excited for it to come out. I love the idea, although I was kind of hoping it'd be necromancy. After hearing all this stuff about how archaeology is going to work, I'm really excited to start training it. It's so exciting. All right, moving on. The other thing that they brought up after this, Mod Mark came on stage and went on like a 20-minute tirade. Like he gave like a whole story about the Elder Gods and all this stuff. Basically, it all culminated into what's going to be a new quest called the City of Sentiston, and they didn't really give much, if any, details about it. They mentioned there'll be layers of history. We want to unearth the bounties from each age of occupation as the city went through multiple occupations during its existence, find the secrets that lie within and the terrors that have been left there to rot. So it sounded pretty sweet. Apparently there's also going to be a dungeon associated with it. He mentioned that as he was scurrying off stage, but that sounds cool. I always love a new quest. And that one, they gave a whole timeline later that I will go over, but that one's not coming out until after archaeology. But sounds like a pretty sweet one, and it could tie in with a new archaeology area because it sounds like you're going to be basically unearthing a new city. Next up is a big announcement that I personally wasn't expecting going into Runefest, but things were kind of leaked during the day, so I knew it was coming before they actually announced on the stream. But basically, farming and Herblore are going to be going to 120, and this is happening next month. They dropped this bombshell at the beginning of October here at Runefest, and it's happening next month. We're getting 120 farming and 120 Herblore next month on the same day, alongside a player-owned farm expansion to help out with the 120 farming. It sounds insane, and there's so much stuff. I'm so excited for this update. That's why I'm making some potions right now, trying to get somewhat prepared for the Herblore. I have no idea, but it's insane. Like, the amount of stuff they announced was crazy. But I'm going to go over it now. Let's start with the Ranch Out of Time, which is what they started with. Basically, there's going to be an island off the coast of Anachronia, and it's going to pretty much be another player-owned farm. It's going to be a second area for it. And there's going to be 5 new pens, 2 large, 1 medium, 1 small, and 1 breeding pen. So pretty nice assortment there. There's going to be 14 entirely new species of things to, grow or whatever, and there's going to be a lot of reptiles involved. They mentioned specifically frogs, like the ones that are in Big Game Hunter, salamanders, jadinkos, apatosaurs, malitops, and rexes, like the ones from Big Game Hunter, are some of the species we'll be able to grow, which sounds amazing. And each of these new ones can only be raised on the New Islands player-owned farm. You can't bring them back to the Arty one. And it basically has all the features of the regular farm that you'd expect, apparently. There's going to be new unique harvestable resources, and apparently there's going to be dinosaur babies that you can get. I think they were just showing the baby versions that are going to be in the pens. They looked pretty cute, and we'll be able to actually get those fairly soon because there's going to be items in the game that you can get that'll end up being usable for like the eggs and stuff before the update actually comes out. So that sounds like it's going to be nice to be able to get a head start on the new player-owned farm by doing the stuff on Anachronia. You'll get the eggs and stuff from killing the monsters, hunting them, I think, as well, and doing the Big Game Hunter. So whenever they do release the items, which will probably be this month at some point, you'll be able to get those in advance. And also, they said that you'll be able to build the farm up using base camp resources. So if you're one of the people who've already completed your base camp, you'll be able to get some more uses for those resources by building up your new farm on Anachronia, and that'll be pretty nice. All of your boosts as well will carry over from the existing farm. I assume that means all the stuff that you've purchased and stuff like that. So that sounds pretty sweet. I've always loved player-owned farm, although I haven't done it too much lately since the nerf, but still, I'm looking forward to all these new animals. Sounds like it's going to be pretty sweet, and I'm looking forward to seeing what these new harvestable resources from the farm end up being used for, as obviously they're going to probably be involved with some of the new Herblore potions that you're getting alongside 120 Herblore. Sorry, I'm just getting a message right now. I had to reply there. But now I'm going to go into the details of 120 farming and Herblore, and my God, is there a lot. So the game is probably going to explode. I don't understand how they're going to come out with all of this on one day, 120 farming, Herblore, and this ranch. But pretty much the Manor Farm is going to become the farming guild for the skill, which makes sense, I guess. They're probably going to need to add some more stuff to it to accommodate that. And there's also going to be a new training method centered around this guild, which allows you to supply newer farmers with materials to start their own farm, which sounds like it'll be interesting. I'm not sure how that'll work exactly. They didn't talk much about that. There's also going to be a new invention machine that you can build at this farming guild that allows you to remotely view all of your patches. There will be an unlockable bloodwood tree patch at the guild, as well as well, that'll just be an interesting thing to, not in the wilderness or dangerous at all. They're also going to allow you at some point on your way to 120 to unlock a 4th spirit tree patch. And I don't even know how many spirit tree patches there are in the game, but I mean, I don't think there's probably only 5 at the most, but I don't remember exactly, but you'll be able to have almost all the spirit trees, it sounds like. There's also going to be 2 new cactus tree type things called red and golden dragon fruit, and there will be a constructible cactus patch on Anachronia that will allow you to grow these. So that sounds pretty cool. They really went through this really fast of all these new crops and stuff, so I tried to keep up as best I could with my notes, but they were like flying through these, so I definitely missed some. But they mentioned some high-level mushrooms called they actually, I don't have the names for those. They also mentioned 3 new fruit tree seeds, carambola, chiku, and guarana or something like that, as well as several new bushes that I could not write down because they were going too fast. They also said that there's going to be the ability to construct or grow a money tree in the farming guild, which sounds ridiculous, but apparently that's going to be a really, really rare seed to get. So it could be interesting. But yeah, tons of new crops are coming with it. It sounds really, really cool. I'm interested to see where these seeds end up coming from, though, because obviously we need usually we have seeds from monster drops, but who really knows where they're going to come from with this update? Probably, going to have to either maybe do something with existing seeds. Who knows? We'll have to see. They also mentioned the perks for the 120 cape. Basically, one of the passive is your patches will always have super compost, which is nice, although I'm sure a lot of people who are 120 farming and growing stuff will be using ultra compost, I'm sure. Then there's an activatable thing that will increase the health and happiness of all your animals by 20% that you can use once per day, which is pretty nice. So hopefully that will make it a bit easier to get good XP rates. And that's pretty much everything they said for the 120 farming. So it sounds really, really cool. Going to be interesting to see what all of these new crops and things can be used for. We'll just have to wait and see for when it comes out. But looking forward to that to come out soon. Next up, we have Herblore, which is obviously also going to 120. Somehow they're doing 2 in one day. But there's going to be a new base ingredient, which I assume is like your vials of water, called Primal Extract. And this will allow you to create new, powerful, and potent potions. The first one they mentioned is Weapon Poison Triple Plus, so plus, plus, plus. They are going to basically a stronger weapon poison. They're also going to have a combination potion that will allow you to combine prayer and summoning potions, which doesn't really sound like a combination you'd want to have, considering you're usually spamming summoning potions during a certain time, and then you would be wasting your prayer pots, but yeah, I mean, I guess that'll be there. There's also an interesting one they mentioned called a charming potion, which while it is active, you will get double charm drops, which sounds kind of OP, but we'll have to see how you make it. There's also going to be a new best in slot food item, which sounds kind of crazy with the way you have to make it. Pretty much there's going to be a new potion called the Potion of Harvest. And while this effect is active, you're going to be able to harvest from your regular existing allotment patches and have those crops mutate into different versions, like a golden watermelon, a rainbow sweet corn, or a cannonball cabbage, were the examples they said, which sounded pretty crazy. And then you can use these mutated ingredients to create what's called the Primal Feast, which is apparently going to be the new best in slot food item. But they say that it can be unpacked into multiple portions, which will basically mean it has a ton of healing per slot, but I'm not sure if it'll really have the same amount of burst healing potential that something like obviously the sailfish soups right now have. So we'll have to see on that, but it'll be really, really good to have these for longer endurance things, or just bring a couple along to potentially help you survive longer. I'm looking forward to it. It'll be interesting to see though how long those ingredients will take to get, since they sounded pretty wild. They also said there's going to be extreme prayer potions, which will be nice, although I assume they're going to require super prayers, which are a pain in the ass to make because you need wyvern bones. But we'll have to see how how those will be made. I assume though you're going to need to upgrade super prayers, so F that. Then this blew my mind. I have no idea how this is going to be balanced or work at all, but they announced this thing called the Blessed Flask, and apparently this will be very time consuming to make. They said similar to Masterwork, which takes a long ass time. And apparently it can be charged up with, they said extreme prayer potions. I don't know if it can be charged up with any prayer potions, but you can charge it up with extreme prayer potions and have like a ton of them in one inventory slot. Now, it definitely won't be unlimited, I'm sure. They didn't say how much it can hold, but it sounds insanely OP. I don't know. Like, imagine, you know how much prayer you have to bring for like a boss or something. For certain things it's not that big a deal, but for like a longer trip at certain bosses, it might be like save you like 10 inventory slots or something like that. So I don't know how that'll work, but it sounded crazy. But I'm looking forward to seeing more info on that. They also brought up adrenaline crystals, which, as you might know, are used to upgrade adrenaline potions to give you 5% more adrenaline. And they've been a bit annoying in the past because they can only be gotten through the wilderness or PvP. They said they're going to be adding some drops to PVM tables that you can then convert into adrenaline crystals. So that's nice that they're going to be addressing that. With Herblore to 120, there's of course going to be a new overload. It's going to be called the Elder Overload, which sounds pretty epic. And let me, just look this up really quick. How much does the Supreme Overload boost you right now? The Supreme Overload right now boosts you by 16% plus 4 for all your stats. And the Elder Overload will be doing 17% plus 5. So I don't really know how the math works out, but you're going to have much higher stats. And a Supreme Overload will be needed to make it. So just keep that in mind. And it is going to be part of the Myleer recipe shop, but they mentioned that not all of the new potions will be on there. A lot of them will just be level unlocks, which is good. And then this next bit is like, I don't even understand. But basically, they said there's going to be 2 new genres of potions as well. The first type they mentioned is called Power Burst Potions. And the 2 effects they mentioned are doubling your health pool and having unlimited surge charges. So I have no idea how the hell that's going to be balanced or in any way make any sense at all, but it sounds insane and it's probably going to be kind of OP. Really looking forward to seeing how those work and how they're made. I mean, doubling your health pool, Jesus Christ. That sounds like it would be one of the best things I could ever get on this account. But we'll have to wait and see again how they're made and how they work. They did mention there'll be a cooldown, so you can't just spam them, but still. The other type is craftable bombs, apparently, and the 3 they mentioned were poison, sticky, and vuln bombs, and these will basically be AoE effects that will linger around for a while and can end up affecting multiple enemies. Sounds like something that might be useful in Slayer. I'm not sure. They didn't really say too much about how they'll work, but yeah, those are all the main new things with Herblore. It sounds so insane. I'm really looking forward to all this stuff. The reveals were really great this year, in my opinion. And they also mentioned in the Q&A that this new stuff for the new Herblore and farming, or at least the Herblore, will never go on drop tables, according to Timbo, like Elder Logs. So yeah, it's going to be pretty intense trying to get this stuff on like Iron Man and stuff like that. But we'll have to see again what ends up being, the hardest bit of it, because there's always like a blocker in terms of like Herblore usually on these accounts. But yeah, they also said the Herblore 120 cape perk will be that you can make overloads, supreme overloads, and elder overloads in batches of 5 and use less ingredients. So that doesn't really give us a lot of details, but basically sounds like you're going to get some free ingredients if you have that 120 cape. So it sounds kind of OP, but we'll have to see. Obviously, it's going to be really hard to get that high leveled in the first place, so it'll be worth getting that perk for sure. And lastly, they said that there will be a 6 to 9 month grace period for like comp capes and stuff when this comes out. So this is all, like I said, coming out next month in November, all on the same day. They said they're coming out with Farming 120, Herblore 120, and the Ranch Out of Time. So that's going to be the craziest update day in like the history of RuneScape. I don't even know how it's going to work out, but I am really, really looking forward to it. Can't wait to see everything that is included with these in the coming month or so. It's going to be insane. So I'm trying not to get stuck on one thing for too long, just go over what was there and move on. So we're going to move on now from that, although I could talk about it for much longer if I wanted to. The next thing they mentioned is there's going to be God Wars Dungeon 3. There's going to be a third God Wars dungeon, and I always loved God Wars. I'm sure most of you do as well. It's going to be called the Elder God Wars Dungeon, and it's going to come out next year in the summer. So we got quite a bit of time to wait for that, but still, sounds like it's going to be pretty sweet, and I'm really looking forward to it. They gave no details on any of like what the bosses or rewards are going to be, but still, sounds epic. And it sounds like it's basically going to be the 4 remaining Elder Gods as like the generals or whatever that the people in the dungeon are representing. So sounds like it's going to be insane, and I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what the rewards are going to be, as well as, you know, the details on the bosses, of course. So that's pretty much everything they revealed any large amounts of details on, but they also gave a timeline of a lot of stuff that's going to be coming out over the next year. So in November, we're getting 120 Farming, Herblore, and the new Ranch somehow. In January, we're getting Archaeology, and then the rest of the stuff didn't really have dates, but they said that this is the order it's going to be. There's going to be a Desperate Measures quest, which will expand the existing storyline. There's going to be new pets and a new competition for pet designs. They mentioned something like mini-game pets. I don't even know. That sounds really weird, but we'll have to see what they actually where they actually end up coming from. But yeah, mini-game and D&D pets maybe. They're going to be doing the Miscellanea remaster at some point next year, which sounds awesome. I'm really looking forward to seeing the new rewards for that and how it works, what they're going to change. Then after that is the City of Sentiston quest, which I talked about. After that, in the summer, is Elder God Wars. I assume that's going to be late summer. And then after that, there's another quest for expanding the story of Azanadra, the guy from Desert Treasure. And the last thing is there's going to be a dig site for Orthen, which is the Dragonkin origin or whatever place that we all thought Anachronia was, but apparently Orthen is within Anachronia, so it's a part of it. But that's going to be another dig site for archaeology that's going to come out later in the year, and it's going to introduce something that they called ancient potion making. So we'll have to see what that ends up being. They didn't give any details on that once again. And then the last couple of things, I mean, all that stuff sounds amazing. Sounds like it's going to be a great year with all these amazing updates. They're going to have a game jam starting next week. One of the things they mentioned specifically that they're going to maybe work on for that is collating all the collection logs, so you don't have to look in 19 different interfaces to find all your collection logs. Old School has it right. They have one book that has everything in it. Really hope they do that with this game jam. Also, they announced that mobile is going to be free to access for everyone later this year, as long as you're on Android. iOS apparently is coming later, early next year, but the full early access is going to be coming soon, so look forward to that if you don't have access yet. And then they went into some really weird little tech optimization section. They showed some stuff about faster loading, new rendering systems that let stuff look better. One thing that they showed that looked really cool was fading out stuff or having a silhouette of your character if there's something blocking your view. So if I was like this right now, there'd be like a black silhouette outline of my character that would be visible so I could still see where I was. Or if you're underneath one of the big trees in the game, the leaves will fade out so you can see to yourself. And that sounded really cool. They also showed movement smoothing, which will make the game more, like the movement around the game look less clunky, which I think will be cool. It looked really nice on the demo they showed. And lastly, they showed two things that they said were very experimental, and they don't even know if it's ever coming out at all, so don't get your hopes up. But it was pretty crazy. They showed how there could be no delay when you click to move. and that looked insane. I don't know how that'll work because they did show the server still thinks you're further behind than the client is showing because it still has to communicate, but the client is showing you the movement and then catching the server up. I don't know. I don't know how it works. And again, they said these things are very early on, but if something like that came out, that would be really, really helpful to prevent some of the annoying delays that can happen when you're trying to avoid it, special attacks and stuff. And then they showed a faster tick rate, if you can believe that. I didn't think they were ever even going to touch it, but apparently they are looking at it. But it would break so much stuff. It would break the entire game. Who knows how it would work. Unfortunately, during this bit on the stream, the audio cut out. So I didn't get to hear everything. But basically, they did show some clips of combat with 6 times the current tick rate. And that would be amazing if they actually did it. Obviously, it would make the game feel a lot more responsive. But it would break the whole game. So they basically have to rebuild the whole thing. And I don't think it's probably going to happen, and maybe within the next 5 years, but it was cool to see that they're looking into that stuff. But yeah, I think that is about everything. One thing I wanted to mention, unfortunately, they didn't bring up Group Iron Man at all, which I really, really want to come out. And they actually confirmed Group Iron Man is coming out on Old School in the Old School keynote. So I was really hoping that it would be included in RS3 as well, but maybe since Old School's getting it, we will too in a short amount of time afterwards. I'm not sure. I'm really hoping so, but just wanted to say that Old School is getting Group Iron Man, so I might be playing that just for fun, but kind of sucks that we didn't hear anything about it for RS3, but we definitely have plenty of stuff to be getting excited about. I am so looking forward to the 120 Herblore and farming next month. That's so insane. And archaeology sounds great. Elder God Wars is going to be cool in the summer, but yeah, if you guys watch the streams, let me know your thoughts in the comments, or if you're hearing about all this stuff for the first time while I'm talking about it. Again, let me know what your thoughts are about all these new updates that are coming. I thought the RS3 reveals were really, really good this year. They did a great job with them. Probably better than last year in my opinion, but we'll have to see again if they actually follow through on all these updates. Hopefully they will, but you never know. I'll be making another video at some point later tonight on the survey results, which was prior to the keynote, but I wanted to get the keynote video out first, and then my normal Hardcore Iron Man episode will be out tomorrow. So you guys can look forward to that. Thanks for watching. Leave your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.